everyone. It's Roger Phipps, COO and founder of Seven Lights Marketing Agency, Bird Eye View Inc., Boss Leadership Solutions, and your consultant for everything business, leadership, ops, and tech. And welcome to another episode of UCF Business Talk Live, or UBT Live, as we like to call it. On this week's show, we have a very special guest, UCF alum and VP of Marketing and Communications. She's going to make me feel small. Maggie Gunther is going to be here as we discuss developing and navigating and leveraging state and local organizations and grants to help your business grow, source people, and generally succeed. So I'm excited to bring her on board. I'm going to introduce Maggie real quick, and then I'll bring in the crew. So Maggie, I want to welcome you to the stream. Welcome to the show. Beautiful background you have there, much prettier than mine.
Thank you. This is Fort Lauderdale, downtown.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and bring one of your neighbors in next. I'm going to bring Alan back to the stream. Alan Levin from Smarty Pants with the Z that's covered up marketing.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Awesome. And then finally, Josh Lazar. I'm wondering what kind of jacket he's going to be wearing this week. So let's see what we get. And there it is, Josh Lazar.
Hey, it's Christmas and almost July part 2 for UCF fans. So I thought might as well run it back week after week.
Run it back until the Big 12 season starts, huh? I guess that's what we'll go with. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Super excited. First things first, let's go ahead and have Maggie tell us a little bit about herself and what she does and the organization she works for. So, Maggie, without further ado, why don't you take it away?
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. Go Knights.
Go Knights.
Charge on.
So as you mentioned, I'm Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. We are the official public-private partnership for economic development here in Broward County, Greater Fort Lauderdale. And we work to diversify and strengthen the economy to attract investment and jobs here in the area. We do that through a variety of different ways. And a little bit about me as far as UCF. I was there, I think, the same time as you, Roger, from 99 to 2003 for my undergrad. I did that in journalism back in the Citrus Bowl days.
Oh,
hopefully,
yeah, I remember that.
Remember?
Yes, I managed not to get robbed by the homeless people there, and I met the Bowl Queen at the time. I don't know if you remember that, but we had a promotion that was it was a bowl queen, and she had a plunger, and she was walking around with toilet paper wrapped around her, and that was our way of promoting UCF at the time. So,
well, that is special. I do not remember that.
I do, unfortunately. We've upped our game since then, I guess, right?
For sure.
All right. So without further ado, I guess let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing I want to do is kind of talk about an economic development council. So what that does, kind of explain to it. A lot of people aren't aware that most local communities have one and what their role is in the community. So can we start there?
Sure. So in our case, we are a public-private partnership. So we are a standalone organization, although about a third of our funding comes from Broward County. And then the other 2/3 of our funding comes from companies like yourselves who are members of our organization, and they invest in economic development for their community. So this, for that reason, for our model, we work to do economic development on behalf of the county throughout all of the municipalities. We have 31 municipalities here in Broward, but it's similarly structured throughout the state of Florida for sure, and around the country, and even internationally. And so we work with companies to diversify the economy, to attract high wage jobs. Every community has different, what we call targeted industries. So in our case, and often throughout Florida, it's technology jobs, aviation and aerospace, life sciences, and then corporate headquarters of any different industry. We're all working to attract those kinds of jobs because they're better paying jobs. They're great for the community. People invest in the community when they bring those types of businesses and jobs.
Awesome. Yeah. And I've actually had the benefit of being part of our local economic development council. So I've got some experience doing that too. And, from my experience, like you said, it's not just about identifying and attracting other jobs. It's also about working with local schools, community colleges, trade schools, et cetera, to approve funding for them for various programs that they're trying to build or educate people and provide them an education for them to, be productive in the local economy. And then secondly, a lot of that also has to do with connecting potential employees with employers. So can you talk a little bit about, your local development council's role in connecting them and how folks can take advantage of that if they're business owners or business leaders within the community?
So we serve as a point of contact to the local, what's called here a career source. And they have those throughout the state of Florida, and I'm sure that throughout the nation. So we'll actually work to connect them with a workforce liaison who will set up a special career fair just for your company if that's what you're looking for. And also, EDOs in general are pretty well connected in the community, and whenever someone hears that we're working with a particular company, then there ends up being a lot of interest. Part of my job is getting that out into the media. If there's a company, say, like, for example, we had West Marine relocated their headquarters from California to Fort Lauderdale last year. And so we help get the word out, and that then attracts, employees for the companies as well.
Yeah, and career fairs is certainly something that's super important because it allows and connects. I know for us up here locally, working with Workforce, Central Florida, Workforce, Walton County, et cetera. Each one of these counties have their own workforce locations, and they provide employment services for people and hoping to connect them. So it's a great resource to leverage and to utilize. And if you become part of that community, one, you have a say, and I encourage you to be on the board. You have a say in what gets attracted, what programs are important, where state funds are directed, all kinds of resources that are involved there, and your voice should be heard, right? And this is a great opportunity to connect and be part of that network that helps build that employee base for you. And I know for us, we also highlighted their tools because folks can go on there. They can fill out job applications. You can list them on there. You can also, view if you're looking, for employees, you can view them on there as well and hire local for folks that are looking for opportunities for employment. So one of the other areas that I know we leverage up here, and we benefit from the fact of having large military bases around us. So there's a couple of programs that are state funded programs that you can leverage that target veterans, right? And one of those veteran areas, especially in the state of Florida, they have a training program. The state of Florida has a training program. The military has a program, and there's also a spouse program. So, and that's designed to, employ military spouses as well. I don't know how much experience you have with that. Do you have any experience with that?
I'm not so familiar with the military or the spouse benefit, but we do utilize some state programs. There's one called the Incumbent Worker Training Grants. It's a mouthful. So it's where we will help companies apply to the state of Florida to get grant money to basically to train their employees on whatever training you might want to offer them, if it's to upskill or, if it's just something in your industry that you want your employees to know emerging technology, stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's there's actually a ton of employment programs and money that's there from the government, right? So for veterans programs, for military spouses, for example, there's the Family Military Employment Advocacy Program, which is another mouthful. The military is uses acronyms for a reason, right? But with that one of the things that you can do is actually connect with local. If you have a local military base, if you have an active spouse, it's one of the hardest things for military spouses to do is to continue their career as they travel because they're moving every 4 years. So there's not very many people that will take a chance on a military spouse. So they can get, they may be highly educated or highly skilled, but don't have an opportunity really to take advantage of that. So I'd encourage everyone to kind of look into that program if you have a military base close to you, because at the end of the day, those folks they may not be with you for 4 years, but the years that they're with you, that's they're super engaged and very talented people. Another thing is the Veterans Florida Business Training Grant. Are you familiar with that one?
No, sorry.
No, it's okay. You guys don't have as many military as we do. So, but Orlando does. Orlando has a lot of veterans. So this is a program where you can also take advantage, and some of the EDCs that are familiar with it will help connect you with that. And basically what it does is it provides you training dollars. So if you sign up for the program, you tell them what job descriptions you have, what training you're providing, and there's a dollar value that's associated with that training. So if you hire a military veteran, bring them on board, provide the training, the state will actually pay out of their grant money to you. So, I mean, we had some highly technical jobs that were $20,000, $30,000 for each one to provide that training for that 6 weeks. And then lastly, another military related one, I'm just going to mention this one because it's there for anybody that has military around you. The Army and most of the armed forces have a program where the folks that are out processing, they have about 12 weeks before they leave the military and go into the civilian world. And they have a program where they'll actually pay them at their normal rate, and they can go work the job for you. So you don't end up paying them anything, right? Now, the intention is you hire them, right? You don't do that not to hire them. It's not free labor. But the government will continue paying their salary or whatever that is, and you can leverage them for that as well. So I'm going to stop with the military stuff because it's just
one more quick military plug is for Amazon.
Absolutely,
Amazon is extremely military spouse friendly as well.
Awesome, and I think Josh actually had something as well. So Josh, what did you have to share with us?
Sure. So just yes-anding all of that, I've met with a organization when I was at a conference who is in the legal space, and they are 100% a remote company. So when you're a remote company, someone who is moving frequently or even every so often doesn't matter. Honestly, sometimes it can be even better because you can have coverage. Say if you're going to a base in Bahrain, well, that's kind of far away, and it's a different time zone. And if the work you're doing, which is kind of how this works, doesn't matter when you do it, it's actually even better than a standard traditional employee. So that is a big deal. And I know we'll end the military discussion at that point, but it is an advantageous position to be in if you have that level of flexibility. Plus, you already have some built-in, not guarantees, but just understanding that if you do well, the other military spouses who have those same skills might apply for jobs if you have them available too, because they have a lot of conversations together. So it's a pretty interesting route to take, especially if you're a remote-only company and it doesn't matter if you're in the Eastern or Central or whatever time zone, 9 to 5, 8 to 5.
Hey, everything revolves around the Central time zone. We've already established that. So
yes.
Little inside joke for the viewers. I kind of messed that one up. So I did want to ask Alan. Alan, did you have any experiences or that you kind of wanted to bring to the table on this? I know that you were actually someone who connected us with Maggie. So were there any experiences that you had with EDC and employment and anything that you could share as resources?
I haven't actually had any experience with the EDC. Me and Maggie actually are part of another nonprofit organization called the Tower Forum, where it's a monthly meeting in Fort Lauderdale that kind of goes over big issues within the community. Could be government or politics or our roads and streets and things like that. So I haven't had too much experience with the EDC, but Maggie and I met for coffee last week, and she told me all about the organization. It was, very interesting.
Awesome.
We'll get you out to an event soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So that's a perfect transition for us, though, because we're going to talk about networking next. So one of the things that EDC or government organizations like that allow you to do is network with involved and business owners that are in your community that can also help you, or it's a great way to connect for services, right? To help provide your services or highlight your services. So Maggie, can you share a little bit about networking opportunities through the EDC and their programs or anything else that you may have?
Well, first, before I get into that, I also want to share something that's very relevant to all our business owners. And that is something that we promote is our county. And a lot of counties around the state have requirements to actually work with small businesses, and they can be small businesses that are minority or women owned or just a small business of any kind. They just have to be registered with the county that you're in. So there are huge contracts for all kinds of business out there. So it's just a matter of you going to your county and getting registered as a small business in that county, and then you open yourself up to a whole bunch of opportunities. So that's one really great way to network that is not a ton of work.
That's a great tip. Because also for military communities, and I'll just bring that up again, it also affords you the opportunity to get in contact with military and federal funding that way as well.
Mm-hmm. And be a subcontractor for a larger contract, get to know the larger companies and all that. As far as networking, that's really certainly something in my wheelhouse. I am one of those people in high school. I was named most involved in my high school, and I just can't help myself. But the best way, as Alan mentioned, we're on the board of the Tower Forum together. The best thing I can recommend for anyone to do is to see what's in your community and what speaks to you. And maybe it's business networking. So maybe you might want to join your local economic development organization or your chamber of commerce or a leads group. But I just recommend that you, or maybe you care more about certain nonprofits and causes. I'm involved with our local performing arts center. We have a young professionals group that I'm almost too old for. But it's been amazing.
You don't look it, so that's all that counts.
Thank you. So we support our performing arts center. We raise money for our arts and education programs at the Broward Center. But through the course of getting involved in all these different things, and what I thought was actually I complimented Alan on this last week, is that we sit on this board together, but he actually took the time to invite me out to coffee. And I've been on a lot of boards and been in a lot of organizations where you work with people all the time in the business context of the organization, but you don't necessarily get to know the person. And it could be something as simple as just meeting up or having a conversation or whatever, going to lunch, whatever. And that's a really good way to leverage your network, because I didn't know even about our UCF connection until we met up. So I would highly recommend that you just pick something, get involved, and then get to know the people that you're working with.
Exactly. I met all these guys via sports. So, we're all in different parts of the state. Otherwise, we wouldn't know each other. And there was, virtual networking that was involved there. But you'd be surprised how many UCF alum are actually all over the local community. So Josh, you had something to mention about Orlando. So
Yeah. So if you go, Orlando.org is the Orlando-based EDC, and they or the Economic Partnership is what Orlando Economic Partnership is what they go by. But it's this, I believe it's the same concept based off of everything I'm hearing, right? And so they do a ton of things local to Orlando. So if you happen, one thing they happen to do, OEP spun off their technology innovation area, and that's now innovateorlando.io, which is both techie and Innovate Orlando. I do like that kind of alliteration. And if you are a technologist or interested in innovation within the Orlando area, I wouldn't say Central Florida because there's some surrounding counties for that. They are revamping their entire setup, and I know this because I'm in some of these meetings and I'm having these conversations, and I'm learning a lot about it because I want to be more invested in our local community. So if you're a technologist or an innovator and you're interested in helping, and you own your own business or you're part of a nonprofit, go and send me an email, honestly, or go to innovateorlando.io and ask how you can help, because they are looking for volunteers like right now to fulfill these 10 and have committees for these 10 areas that they're trying to strategically align to. This is all based, if you've heard of the Meta Center idea, this all kind of works around that. And I got a lot of information from Tim Giuliani and I think it's David Adelson and a couple of people out of that area within the last couple of weeks. So this is happening in your local community. If you're in Orlando and you would like some insights, let me know. I can put you in contact with the right people as well, or maybe come with me to a meeting. But it's great that we have all these things in Fort Lauderdale, in Orlando, in the Central Florida area. Honestly, I know we're UCF Business Talk Live, but we have UCF grads across the country. Your local community has these things. And as a business owner, it's definitely worth your while to go there, because just in 2 meetings, I met the founder of Priceline and some amazing other people that I'm connected with, and we're trying to see how we can all help the Orlando area together. So 100% agree with Maggie. Just involving yourself if you can, paid or just time or dime, if you will, definitely can help you in your business.
Awesome.
Love that.
So Maggie, question for you. I know that there's different, obviously we talk about UCF all the time and their entrepreneurial efforts and helping support that, right? But there's also other organizations that are out there. Like, for example, I'm familiar with Bunker Labs. Any organizations out there that you would recommend that people could connect with, to meet other business leaders in the community?
So definitely your local EDC. One thought I was having related to your comments were about the venture mentoring team. That's a really awesome group, and they do, and you probably are familiar with them. So they are, people like yourself, Roger, serial entrepreneurs who go ahead and mentor other business owners. And they are kind of like the gold standard for business mentoring and startups. And they kind of plug themselves into a lot of the different incubators around. Like we have down here at Nova Southeastern University, the Levan Center of Innovation, and they work on that venture mentoring team model as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. One of the things that I try to do too is work with the local students. So speaking of mentorship, one of the programs that you don't need to be local to UCF to be able to take advantage of and participate in, because clearly I am not in Orlando. But the mentorship program that UCF has contains a lot of outreach for folks like that. So I encourage anyone who's either a business leader or entrepreneur to participate in that. Some of our past guests, Jesse Wolf from Odang Hummus and some others, have all participated in that. And it's definitely something that's worthwhile for someone who's learning. If I can give someone knowledge where it doesn't require as much gray hair, to achieve, that I'm going to do that to help them out. So, definitely not only seek those out, but also participate in those programs, because folks have a lot to learn. All right, Alan, Smarty Pants with a Z. You've been awful quiet tonight. Anything from that you'd like to share or kind of talk about with your experience?
Yeah, just Maggie, when it comes to the organization, is what kind of challenges do you face? Like, I know, Fort Lauderdale is a hotbed for businesses that, and people that have moved here, especially after COVID. But, are there any like challenges, maybe just being in maybe in the shadow of Miami, or just like in general, that you face when trying to attract new business and leaders to the community?
Definitely differentiating ourselves from the other communities in South Florida, because we're down here in the middle of a region with 6 million people. So how do we prove our value proposition versus the Miami or Palm Beach, for sure. One current challenge we're having is just the interest rates, and I think that all business owners are dealing with that. So companies may be a little more hesitant to invest in like equipment or real estate. They're kind of just waiting and seeing how things are going to go. But yeah, it's very cyclical. Sometimes, like during the pandemic, we just had tons and tons of people relocating here. We just kind of ride the waves as we can and take advantage of the different trends. We actually did a campaign when there were all the tech layoffs in Silicon Valley. We ran the numbers, and we saw that we actually have more tech jobs available here than people. So we ran ads in California and Silicon Valley, LA area, basically saying that, laid off, great, Fort Lauderdale to the rescue. And we had like a lifeguard shack. So yeah, it's a matter of just kind of seeing what the market conditions are and adapting to them, just like any other business.
Yeah, I think that's an important point too, is that these ventures are measure their success by serving and meeting business needs. It's one of the few areas that their funding and or their metrics for the leadership is surrounded about making you successful, filling the job roles and opportunities that are vacant, making sure that they're providing you and bringing in new businesses and industries to the area that will bring value to you and your business. So it's important to participate in that. And then also bringing in resources that are going to allow you to employ the people that you need to employ. And there's very few entities out there that exist that their metrics are basically based to serve you. So make sure you're taking advantage of the programs. What's the best way for someone to get in contact with their local EDC so they can get exposed to the programs? I know we have BDRs or business development reps down here, but in general, what's the best way to get involved and to kind of understand what's out there?
So most of the major academic development organizations are a part of the IEDC, or the International Economic Development Council. So if you go to their website and then you search for your community, you should be able to find your local EDC.
Awesome.
Do you find
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Alan.
Do you find that there's a lot of like businesses and business owners that are just like not aware of your organization and what you guys do?
Yes, absolutely. Especially some of the smaller companies. We actually are charged by our county. Part of our agreement with our county is to visit somewhere north of 150 companies every single year of all sizes. As long as they have, I think, like 2 or 3 employees. They're called Bravo visits, and we meet with all these different companies, and that's part of how we find out. We get the word out on what we're doing, but we also help provide resources and connect them with the things that they might need.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, this is how you guys set priorities, right? So your priorities and your agenda and what you guys are attacking is try to meet the needs of the business community. So making sure that you're having your voices heard is pivotal in focusing those resources that are out there to serve you and make you successful and help you grow your company. And, when we were talking earlier about, making sure you're building a network, it's a great team to have in your network because they know so many other businesses that if you have something you run into, I know I've done this before, they will point you in the right direction. And also, if you participate and they're aware of you, they will also advocate on your behalf. So when they hear other people are like, oh, we need a marketing company, and it just so happens to have a Z in the name, they might Alan, right? So, or if they need a fractional CIO, they might want to talk to Josh, right? Or if they just need business, all other types of marketing and or business consulting, they talk to me. So they are your advocates in more ways than one. So make sure that you're taking advantage of it, because they're there to help you, and they're great resources for expanding your network without you having to go beat down doors, right? So we still advocate that, participate in the local networking events. However, they're a great resource for you and a really a hub for your networking wheel, right? They can point you in a bunch of different directions. So, okay.
Absolutely.
Josh, did you have any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Lots of concerns.
No, I mean, all I'm thinking is like, should I? Let me ask the question. So I'm a small business. Actually, most of us would be considered small businesses. I know most economic partnerships or EDCs have different investor levels, right? Like the one in Orlando, has everyone if you're in town, all the people in the board of directors and investors, you've heard of them before, right? A lot of UCF alumni and whatnot. Is it worth it for a small business or an up and coming business to invest it, even as a small business in a partnership? If you were doing that in Fort Lauderdale, if say Alan wanted, I don't know if Alan does, but if Alan wanted to invest as a small business or a business with your EDC, what does that look like? How's that feel? What I want to say advantages, but how does that help both the community and your small business?
So you really teed it up for us. Thank you so much. So we are similar to Orlando EDC. We have members or investors at a fairly low level. Solopreneurs. I actually have two personal friends who have joined as members. One runs a residential real estate group, and another friend of mine is a consultant, mostly in the healthcare space. And both of them joined at a lower level, but they actively participate. And I think that that's the point. You don't have to buy in with one of the big boys, at a $50,000 level to get the value out of the organization, because we provide opportunities, and all EDOs really provide opportunities for all these different levels of members to mix and mingle and get to know one another, and sometimes make an introduction for you. We like to say that we are not a networking organization, but a lot of networking happens when people have the right intention and they show up.
So that's something that I've been trying to change the nomenclature of myself, and I'm putting it out there too, because networking, sometimes people have this pejorative-ish feel to it, or it's like, I don't want to network. Now you're building connections, and that's really what the goal of what networking events and things. You're building connections and you're learning about people, and when you learn about people, you want to work with people you like and and you've been around. So that's great. I appreciate that. So there's dime, right? What about time? It's time and dime. Usually one of those two things helps with investing or helps with growth. If you have maybe a little dime, but you have some time, what type of volunteerism is possible in an EDC, yours or others that you know of?
So in ours specifically, for most of our initiatives, committees, councils, we try to keep things pretty high level and not a lot of work on our volunteers. At least that's the way we operate. We do that purposely because we want to be able to attract very high level leaders, so that we can say to them, hey, you're going to sit on our board, but it's only this number of meetings per year. it's we keep everything high level for them. But different organizations are different with the amount of commitment that they require. So I think whatever you do, just kind of go into it very honestly with whoever you're, and also you could tailor your involvement. You can get as involved or not involved as you want to. So, you could just join the committee versus chairing the committee versus being on the board versus, those different things.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm learning, I know a little bit about OEP here, but what they're trying to do with the tech side is right up my alley. So that
sounds like you found your area.
Yeah. Well, so I'm thinking about this as a business owner, and I'm a part of another type of organization called Tiger Bay. It's more of a political organization that's 50-50 Democrat and Republican. And we have all the same people in the same places with some elected officials in the same rooms often too. And I'm thinking about, should I spend time or dime going to orlando.org or going to OEP and seeing if that would be beneficial. That's why I love these conversations, because there's a lot of people we're not Florida Blue, right? We're not Disney. None of us here are, but there are definitely some business owners that are that level. So it's interesting having the conversation of what is the mutual benefit for each other in this type of conversation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, how do you want the people who are showing up to these events or meetings to see you? Do you want them to see you as someone who's engaged in the political process, or do you want them to see you as someone who's engaged in the business or the tech ecosystem?
Is there some cross there? Is there a lot of politics happening in your EDC?
We're definitely a magnet for elected officials, which is I think that's a credit to the work that our team has done to make us known as an influential organization that people want to be affiliated with. So it's kind of a good side effect.
That's interesting.
But we're not political.
No. I understand that. It's interesting because we do have dedicated political organizations. You might have a Tiger Bay Club in Fort Lauderdale too. There's a good amount around.
That sounds super cool. I've not heard of that.
So I'll Roger, about a minute on Tiger Bay, and I'll flip back to EDC. So I'm not going to derail too much. So Tiger Bay is an interesting concept. It's led by the board of directors. It is literally 50% Democrat, 50% Republican. You can't have more than either on the board nor in the membership. So if someone of one party leaves, someone of that same party has to be appointed back in. So it's pretty much down the middle everywhere. And so the Tiger Bay in Central Florida, we've had Hakeem Jeffries come down and talk. We've had Roger Stone a while back when it wasn't as bad. We've John Morgan, and we've had Jimmy Petronis, the CFO of the state, was here last month. So it's a very interesting mix of people you've probably heard of and some you haven't, to have this conversation. And the reason I say that is because some people are there for the listening to people. A lot of people are there for the hour beforehand, because when you can talk to, say, people who have been advocating on behalf of UCF for TDT dollars here in Central Florida directly versus having to go through other channels, that's interesting, right? And it's fun. So I was wondering if your EDC kind of feels like that, not having the people in there, but there is some great connections happening just because you bring this great environment to get everyone in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Our networking events are pretty well attended.
So in my experience, just from another EDC that's on the complete opposite end of the state, and having participated in that, we had actually pretty good participation from our local community leaders. We were 2 counties merged into one. It was Walton,
Santa
Walton
Rosa?
County. No, it was Walton and Okaloosa County. So Santa Rosa is its own county. They use Santa Rosa a lot up here, but I'm Santa Rosa Beach, which is Walton County, but Okaloosa butts up against it. So I participated in that one. And I will say this, on your first comment, dime versus time, they really wanted time. So it was more about leveraging, people's abilities to help and skill sets to help move it forward. That particular group, and I understand not all groups are this way, but that particular group was very open to hearing suggestions from their employee or employers in the area, right? And for me, for example, I would help them with some of their marketing efforts, right? So they had a marketing budget. They have a lot of these EDCs will use the same company for their, and I don't know if you guys use the same company for their marketing, but because they have an agreement with them statewide. So we good not using them. Sorry, whoever that is, but there's a reason I jumped in. So anyway, helping them with that type of expertise or helping them make business decisions or what have you, right? They were very, very open to doing that. Now they came to the meetings prepared and we gave them direction on what we wanted to see, but then they were also open to hearing our thoughts and concerns on it too. So it's very much a participative process. And since we had a very vocal local community, of business owners, they participated, and you could drive change, and that's what's important. Not necessarily on political veins, but what was best. Everybody was focused on what was best for the community, and I think that was one of those areas where it was apolitical, and it was geared towards everybody turning left and turning right and saying, okay, is this the right thing to do for the community and all the people that we're trying to help within the community? So it's been my experience. It's been more time than dime, and people appreciate that. And when they see those skill sets, they want to work with you on whatever skills that you have because they see it in action, right? So, hey, I know this guy. He does this with me. He's got great ideas. Why don't I talk to him when I need help with this, or this, right? So it's a great opportunity there. And they're also heavily involved in local community events, whether they're for us, there was, March of Dimes and various other, different community charities, like national charities, but with community chapters. And we would support and provide time for that if you were interested in it as well. So again, that provided another opportunity for one, for you to showcase your skills, and two, build your network by doing something together that everybody cares about. So, the EDC, like I said, it's for me has been a focal point, at least in the local community, on helping the community employ, making connections with other business owners, building mentor type relationships with some people. If you see someone who's successful in the community, in your community, that knows your community, it's a great person to talk to. Or, maybe they've worked with the federal government or whatever. It's a great hub for that wheel to create relationships within your community. So Maggie, you can tell I'm going to. I'm very opinionated. So, but I love the work that you do, Maggie. In your local community, I know there's value here. The big thing tonight was to talk about what value that you bring back to the business community that's local to you, whether it be employment, grants, any other ways that again, your charter and your modus operandi and what you're measured in is to make business successful. So I really appreciate that you came on and talked to us a little bit about that, because I don't think enough people know about what you do.
Yeah, the other thing too, I can explain if we have some time, is the incentive process. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you may hear people talking about incentives for business, or like you often hear about film incentives for a production to go to a specific city or state or whatever. So we work with companies there used to be, for the state of Florida, a statewide incentive, but that has gone away a few years back. So what a lot of local communities, including ours, have done is worked with their county and the various municipalities within the county to offer incentives for companies. So I was telling you about some of the industries that we work with, those high wage industries. So if somebody's creating multiple jobs in an industry like technology, et cetera, they can qualify for a tax rebate based on the value of the job that they create. So if the job is a certain percentage of the average wage in the county, so higher than the average wage by various tiers, then they qualify for these incentives. That's an example of our local incentive. Other cities and communities around the state have and around the country have different types of incentives.
Yeah, we have those up here. We actually participated in that, so I can
Awesome.
speak to that. You have to get approved for it. So you go through a vetting process, and then to your point, you have to, however many people you have in the program, you have to create a certain number of jobs for each tier, and then you estimate what that wage is going to be for those people, and then you have to meet a certain percentage mix of that wage in there as well. And it also offers recognition for you too, because there's certifications. You actually get access if you participate high enough and create enough jobs, that actually goes up to the governor as well. So you can get some acclaim or whatever spotlight on you from the governor. But yeah, it was a great program. It again, it encourages you to invest in the local community and the folks that you have there, and is a good way for you to recoup some of those costs. Now, that tax break also included things that were involved with their job or with the training. So if you had any manual, any certifications or anything like that, you could utilize that. You could also utilize like things like paper, right? So if you, one of the other things you can do is you can get approval if you have the knowledge, internal knowledge. You can create certification programs, and as long as it's approved by the state through whatever grant you're using, you can also, when you put your employees through that or you offer it to other people, they will also reimburse you for that certificate that you've created. We did one for accessibility, web accessibility. Yeah. So we had, one of our focuses in the fintech I was working for was web accessibility and making software and websites accessible. And so we had someone who was certified, and we created our own certification program that we were able to provide to others. So another great way. But yeah, that program was great. They are encouraged to work with you because they have that grant money that they have to give away, or that, that tax break money that they have to give away. So again, they are measured by how successful you are, and they don't want you to fall off of that program. And if you do, for whatever reason, don't meet the metrics the first year, you have another opportunity to do that the next year. So they don't just cut you off if you don't meet that metric. So great call out. I didn't even think about that program when we were talking, and we participated in it. So there's just a plethora of them that are out there, and your local EDC can help you navigate that and find them to help get you some money back for doing good things.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Maggie, is there anything else that you don't think we've covered or asked that you want to share?
Let's see. No, I think that was everything I had.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then we're coming back to story time. So I mentioned that on there. Hey, are there any success stories that you care to share with people that you've worked out, or that was an example of people using your resources successfully?
So a cool, I mentioned West Marine. That's a kind of a big name company that relocated. Another one that we worked with our team, you may or may not have heard of the company Jazzwares. It's a toy company, but what I'm sure you've heard of, if you have a child or know a child, is Squishmallows.
Yes.
So Squishmallows. So that company, the parent company, is called Jazzwares. They make toys of all kinds, including Squishmallows. The CEO created Squishmallows. And Jazzwares was acquired by Berkshire Hathaway, and they are located right here in Broward County. And our team had the opportunity to work with them to help them with their growth. And they had a really cool profile in our local South Florida Business Journal, if you want to check that out. So that's the kind of cool stuff. Other big names you may have heard of, Chewy. we also, just like EDCs around the whole world, I feel like have worked with Amazon. So a lot of these really exciting companies are doing great things in your communities. So just kind of, if nothing else, just follow your local EDC and like check us out on LinkedIn and see what we're up to, because you would never know what's really going on right in your own backyard.
Awesome. Alan, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about?
Who's the best contact within the organization to speak with if you're just getting started with, your business and you don't really know who to reach out to? And then what are some like events that you maybe want to spotlight? Is there some that are maybe like the biggest one of the year, kind of like an annual type of thing, or is it just kind of a bunch of mini events, or like what would be
what we do, and I believe a lot of them do, annual meetings. So our annual meeting's coming up in October. That's the change of our fiscal year. So most EDCs will do at least one big annual meeting, maybe some other smaller quarterly meetings and networkers. And then the best point of contact, it really kind of depends on what you need. So if you want to actually just connect your business and learn more from a business standpoint, then it would be maybe someone on a business development team that does those types of visits like I was speaking about, if that's what the EDC does. So it just depends on, every EDC is a little bit different. Another good point of contact is the membership department, because they want you to join. So they're potentially going to invite you to maybe come to an upcoming event as a guest and check it out. So those are a couple of good points of contact. Really, usually, unlike Roger and I were having a conversation before this started about how someone just wouldn't pick up the phone. EDCs, typically the staff will pick up the phone or will answer you back. And if you reach out to anyone, they're going to hopefully route you to the right person.
Right.
Because like he said, it is our job to help.
Awesome.
Josh, how about you? Anything else for Maggie?
I think I asked the questions and thoughts that I had. I do appreciate your time. It's interesting because even as someone who's worked with like the Orlando Economic Partnership and some parts of it from technology, learning and gathering more insights on how that works was wonderful. So no further questions.
All right, I guess Josh rests his case. Maggie, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for sharing and reminding me of so many things that I've forgotten. And proud UCF alum, and we're proud that you connected with us. And hopefully we'll keep in touch. You actually brought up a couple of things I've been thinking about lately, so I'll probably ping you outside of the show. You're more than welcome to be on any time, and of course, share the show with your fellow Knights. And we encourage you, folks, as we're kind of going through this, these episodes. This is number 11. Make connections with fellow Knights. As you can see, everybody that we brought on has made a difference in their community, has been a successful business owner and or leader, right? Because this show, yes, we talk about business ownership a lot, but it's also about business leadership, and a lot of those tools are transferable. The goal is to help each other, and I'm blessed that we get to meet so many great and successful people in our community. So give Maggie a follow, give her a shout if you're in South Florida. Make sure you connect with her and support her in any way that you can. And thanks again, Maggie. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Maggie.
All right, take care.
All right. Thanks, Maggie. We really appreciate everything that you shared with us. Obviously, we had a few stories in-house that we got to share as well. Josh apparently is the EDC king of Orlando.
I wouldn't go that far. But I certainly know a lot more about it because I choose to be involved in my local community. So I've been through Leadership Orlando. I've been through the Political Leadership Institute. And if you go through a lot of the Mayor's City Academy here in Orlando, that if you are local to Orlando, and I know a lot of UCF alumni and business owners don't really leave the area. Not, obviously, 1 out of 3 in our group. But if you stay in town, there's a lot of things you can do. And a lot of them are not paid. you can volunteer your time, not necessarily dime. A lot of them are paid. I mean, Leadership Orlando is $5-6 grand, right? But in Leadership Orlando, actually, it's interesting. When I was in Leadership Orlando, I met Michael Morsberger when he was just joining the Golden Knights Club, or the whatever the athletic association,
the Golden Knights Club.
Foundation, UCF Foundation. Yeah.
What? Like our site? All right, let's go.
Yeah, no. He was when he was joining the UCF Foundation, and I had a great conversations with him throughout his tenure until he moved down towards South Florida, and so you just make really good connections and really deep, meaningful, either business or otherwise, connections when you start involving yourself when you have the time, because these things, EDC, the Innovative Orlando stuff I'm doing, at the core of it, it's going to help the town and the communities based off of my connections and knowledge, and vice versa. So yeah, I wouldn't say the king of it, but that 10x10 10x tech event that I went to and then I rushed back, and that was where I first met Brittany Leonard that we talked about in the last episode. That's an OEP event, and they're having another one soon, which will have another 600 and 1,000 people. And, if you're local to Orlando and you're in tech, just sign up for the event. It's free. It's on Wall Street. So as I say, there's just a lot of great ways you can involve yourself and volunteer or learn or grow in your town. You just have to take some actions. It's not going to fall into your lap.
All right. So Josh is talking about all the ways you can help others, but this week, a lot of what we were talking about is how you can help yourself, right? So it's not just about, your volunteer opportunities, because that is important. For me this week, it's about highlighting all of the things that these organizations give back to you, right?
Oh yeah.
And
that goes hand in hand, though. That's what I'm saying. It's the rising tide floats all boats. You are 100% right. But sometimes you can't give back, and you can go to your EDC, but if you don't know it exists or they don't know who you are, they'll certainly help. But if you're trying to do these things and they know who you are, if they've seen your face at a meeting, it might be even better. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think more poignantly, I think, what you mentioned was who you met there and the opportunities that provides as you support the community, but also more importantly, for those business owners that don't, or business leaders that, and I say business leaders because I was introduced to the EDC in a COO role. It was not as a business owner, and there was a lot of value that was provided to me by working with my local EDC in sourcing employees, but also sourcing grant funds and programs that we leveraged to bring in good employees, and for doing that and being a good steward for our community, also providing value back to our bottom line. So that's the most that was kind of what I was trying to highlight this week. It's not just about what you can do for them, it's also about what you get out of it. And most people are not aware, unfortunately, about the advantages of leveraging that and all the great work that Maggie and people like her do. And I think this week kind of highlighted that. Alan, what about you? Any thoughts?
I mean, it's funny because I literally had no idea what the EDC was until like 2 weeks ago when I met Maggie, like we mentioned, for coffee. And we've been in this organization together for like a year, but we hadn't spoken that much. She had told me she worked for the EDC, but I didn't know what it was. And then when we went out to coffee, she told me all about it. And it's cool to know that there's a lot of networking groups out there, and you have groups that everyone's heard of, like BNI or something like that. But when you hear about all these other great resources, it's just it lets you know that you need to do your research and network, just the importance of that, because I really would have had no idea or even realized there was a great resource out there like that. But the show helps spotlight that stuff, and it just goes to show you the power of networking. I've learned about a really great resource that could potentially help my businesses and other businesses in the community.
Awesome. So Josh, I have a question for you. There was a rumor going around. So I heard from a birdie, first of all, Alan, that you did not drink coffee at the coffee shop.
I don't drink coffee.
Drank some sort of green juice.
I don't drink
So-
coffee. Yeah.
Oh, we learned something. Oh my gosh, I couldn't survive without coffee.
I don't either. I drink
What did
tea.
you do?
I don't
What-
drink coffee.
At all?
I don't drink coffee
never.
at all. No.
Wow.
Never.
See, I drink coffee and tea, probably equal parts depending on the mood I'm in. But and I do drink green juices too, but not when I go to a coffee shop. So
That's fair.
It was like an organic place, you know. It wasn't like a Starbucks.
all right, whatever. So
You just lost potential sponsorships, Roger. What are you doing?
no, we didn't. They had coffee there. I like to drink coffee, so I can go drink the coffee. No sponsorships lost there.
Yeah, Yapon. We just need Yapon brothers. They definitely should. We really should talk. Okay, I'm just show ideas coming out live. All right.
So anyway, going back to and kind of like talking about show ideas, Birdie told me that there was some very scrumptious cookies that might be coming our way that we're going to highlight on the show. Have we made any headway with that?
That's great. So yes, we have to figure out logistics, and I'll give you some insights here. So a friend of mine who is a UCF alumni has a cookie company. It's Orlando Cookie Company. And a lot of the things that she does is local. So she'll do local events and sell cookies locally and at farmers markets and events and whatnot. A lot of custom stuff, really, really amazing. And not because it's a friend, because I eat a lot. The cookies are amazing. They really, they're the best.
Let me point this out. Josh said that. None of the rest of us said that.
That's fair. You know, it's absolutely fair. I do. It's part of my ethos. So she just has an amazing mind and makes amazing pastries and cookies are her real thing. So and she's good at a lot of other things, not just cookies. That's just what she's doing now. So we are trying to figure out how we can get this all done because Florida and heat and transportation, since I'm the only actually me and Rob are the only ones that are local. We're gonna figure out how we can. She definitely wants to come on. We're definitely gonna talk about some cookies, how she's built her business. We're going to see if we can get some cookies live. So on the live stream, you can see some visuals, and we can maybe even taste them live too. But it's really going to be hard if they're custom for you and for Alan. So we're going to work through that. But we actually had a conversation.
I've already got a solution. We've got 2 beach locations. She just needs to take 2 vacations. One to Santa Rosa Beach, and then one down to Allen, Fort Lauderdale, in that area, and problem solved.
Yeah.
Spend a couple days at the beach, and she brings the cookies with her. I'm full of solutions, Josh.
Yes. So we will get that all together. I just need to figure out how, because I just feel like us all having a cookie, like we're live when we're live or at dinner time, like kind of past dinner into dessert time. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in, at least of the people who are here live. So I think it would be good. I think it'd be solid.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this as a fellow kid who eats too much. The cookies are good at any particular time. Crumble cookie on my debit and or credit card is definitely a proof positive of that. So
I will say she'll put those to shame, and that's not hubris.
I'm looking forward to it. So that's why I asked. But the other thing too, do we have any updates on goldenknightsclub.com?
So same stuff going on. Same thing as last time. Keep signing up. If you have any suggestions, let us know what we can make this easier. Maggie, when you listen to this in post, we hope you sign up too, and maybe just put what you're doing for the EDC out there or whatnot, or even anything else. So just join up with the GoldenKnightsClub.com. We're seeing some traffic. I might try to pull some metrics for us next time so we have some details. But this is what I love. So we're at episode 11. We do an episode every week. What I love to see by the fourth quarter of this year in 2023, someone has made a business, not only connection, but has made money using GoldenKnightsClub.com. That's my goal. By the end of this year, I think we can do it. Someone that's gone there, connected, and made money.
I love it. And just as a reminder for everybody, it's a marketplace for fellow UCF alum and their services, and also a marketplace for you to highlight yours so that fellow UCF alum can use your services. So please make sure you're using it. It's there for you. It's absolutely free. We're still working on it to make it the best that it can be, but that doesn't mean that in the interim you can't use it, because it is functional and it's designed to help you. So remember to check it out, goldennightsclub.com. Outside of that, I think it's time to wrap it up. We're at 105. So I'm going to have Alan on first so I can gauge how much time we need for 107.
Yep. Thanks for having me again, Roger. And as always, I'm Alan Levin, founder of Smarty Pants with a Z Marketing, a full-service digital marketing agency down here in South Florida. So if you have any marketing needs, feel free to contact me at my website. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. Alan, super excited about his stuff. So Josh Lazar with a Z in his name. Go for it.
So Josh Lazar from Tech Think Tank, anything technology related, specifically between the areas of operations and technology and making sure they are in alignment. I'd love to help you with that for your organization and your team. You can go to techthinktank.com, Josh at techthinktank.com, all regular words, no changed letters there. But something I will be tight and say, I'm getting a little itch to go bowling, and I'll tease that a little bit more because there's some interesting things I'm starting to do. Another side project, maybe I'm going to be like Roger to do 9 side projects in 12 months. But watch for some socials and things like that because honestly, one of the things I love is bowling, and I love connections, and I'm going to make those things happen more than they usually do.
All right, as long as you make bowling shirts that match your jacket, I think people will come.
In the plans.
All right, awesome. So as for me, I'm Roger Phipps. For all your marketing needs in small business, legal, medical, higher education, or anything else, I'm your man. You can also do we also do video production from A to Z. You can reach me at r.phipps@sevenlights-agency.com. Or visit our website, sevenlightsagency.com. And also for your consulting needs, you can also reach out to me at bossleadershipsolutions@gmail.com. So another great episode. Thank you, Maggie. Excited for next week. Can't wait for cookies. Check out goldennightsclub.com. And we've learned that Alan doesn't drink coffee. So you're welcome, everyone. Excited for next week. So we'll see you then. Remember to like, subscribe, and grind.